Welcome to Robbie Reel's Vinyl Picks. In this edition, we're going to take a look at the 1962 offering of the James Bond theme by the John Barry 7 and Orchestra. But just who is John Barry? And he's 7. The John Barry 7 was a band that was formed by John Barry himself in 1957. Barry contacted 3 local musicians, as well as 3 musicians he knew in the army. Together, they made up the 7. They were then quickly signed to EMI, under the Parlophone label. The John Barry 7 appeared on such shows as the 6.5 Special and Oh Boy during 57 and 58. The sometimes gruelling, intense and lengthy process of the Oh Boy production was sometimes tough for people that was trying to commit to the actual band. This sometimes showed resentment towards Barry and brings some things to the boil, as he did not have to appear when other accompanying artists appeared on the bill. As a result of this, several members decided to leave, as there was substantial reduction in their wages. As a consequence, Dave Myers accepted to offer to play for the big band in Scotland. Mike Cox, Fred Kirk, decided to take a job in aviation. When Ken Richards announced he wanted to return to Scarborough, Ken Goulding felt it was time for him to go too. This left the band with a new lineup. It brings us then to the vinyl record that we're reviewing. From 1962, the James Bond theme, and still used on every James Bond film since. This theme was written for the first James Bond film, Dr. No. The film was directed by Terence Young and starred a rather dashing Sean Connery in the lead role as 007, aka James Bond. The film was released on the 5th of October of that year and cost £1.1 million to make, whilst in the box office it took double the amount. The James Bond theme that is heard normally through the gun barrel sequence is heard over the opening credits here on the first film. Monty Norman was the composer of the film, and John Barry would later to go on to compose the main theme. However, John Barry was uncredited on the actual title screen. He later went on to produce 11 soundtracks for the James Bond franchise. It was occasionally suggested that Barry, not Norman, composed the James Bond theme. The argument had been subject to 2 court cases. The film was written by Monty Norman and arranged by Barry, and apparently this was composed in less than 2 minutes. The original soundtrack album that accompanied this actual film was released by United Artists Records in '63, with several cover versions of the James Bond film on Columbia Records. The James Bond film entered the UK singles chart in 1962, reaching a peak position of number 13 during an 11-week spell within the charts. As for the John Barry 7, their chart success was literally a bit hit and miss, that being the title of one of their songs, and being the highest chart entry into a UK chart, hitting number 10 in 1960. Other than their other top 20 hit, comes in the form of Walk Don't Run, which hit the UK charts in September of 1960, only managing to get to number 11. Apart from that, none of their other singles really made it past the top 30 mark, meaning that 4 highest chart hits all spent more than 10 weeks in the UK single chart. Now let's take a look at the actual vinyl record. Overall, the record itself is in rather good condition. As you can see, there's a couple of wear and tear marks on my record, caused by probably a sticker from when someone else had the purchase and decided to yank it off. It plays excellently well and surprisingly has everything that a record should sound like. For a record from 1962, it really does still sound very dynamic, and it still has all that pungent sound of all the brass and all the string instruments that a James Bond theme should have. If you happen to get your hands on one of these, please buy it immediately and you'll be absolutely thrilled. From me, Robbie Reel, this has been my vinyl pick, and surprisingly, I'm going to have to say it, this episode is seriously shaken, but definitely not stirred. Until next time, happy collecting.